My name is Dr. Mara Ellison, and for the last 7 years I have worked alone in Outpost 74, the last human listening station on the night side of tidally locked world Kepler 442b. The planet never turns its face to its red dwarf sun. One hemisphere burns in eternal noon. The other, where I live, is wrapped in an endless star-filled night kept barely above freezing by geothermal vents and the faint infrared glow leaking around the planet's edge. The company calls the place Station Nocturne. Everyone else just calls it 74. I came here because I wanted silence. Real silence. After the accident that took my husband and daughter on Luna, the chatter of Earth felt like knives. Out here, 0.8 light-years from the nearest colony, the only voices are the ones I choose to play from old recordings. I catalog deep space signals, searching for patterns that might one day prove we are not alone. Most days, the universe stays politely mute. That changed on Sol 3092 of my tour. The long-range array pings something impossible. A coherent radio pulse repeating every 11.3 seconds, coming not from the sky but from beneath the ice crust, 30 kilometers downrange in the subglacial trench we call the Black Rift. The signature was too regular for volcanism, too complex for natural piezoelectric discharge. I suited up and took the crawler out at once. Protocol said to call it in. I didn't. I was tired of asking permission to be curious. The rift is a wound in the planet's skin. A canyon 2 kilometers deep where liquid water, kept warm by radioactive decay, flows in slow black rivers under a roof of ice. I parked the crawler on the lip, lowered the drone swarm, and watched their floodlights carve tunnels of green-white through the darkness. 43 minutes later, Drone 7 stopped transmitting. Its last frame showed a cavern the size of a cathedral and something standing in it. It looked like a man made of night. Not a silhouette. Not a shadow. A volume of space from which light was simply absent, yet edged with a faint violet shimmer, as if the dark itself had geometry. The figure was tall, perhaps 2.5 meters, limbs too long, head smooth and eyeless. It raised one hand toward the drone. The video feed bleached to static. I should have retreated. Instead I descended. The ice shaft the drones had burned was still open. I clipped into the winch, dropped through layers of ancient snow older than humanity, and stepped onto the cavern floor with my rifle light shaking in my grip. The air was breathable. Nitrogen-oxygen mix, warmer than the surface by 30 degrees. The cavern walls were glassy, sculpted by millennia of dripping meltwater into pillars and draperies that caught my light and threw it back in blood-red reflections. He waited in the center. Up close the absence was worse. Light did not reflect off him. It bent as though he occupied a pocket where photons lost interest. Yet when he moved, the violet edge brightened, sketching joints, fingers, the suggestion of a rib cage. He made no sound, but I felt pressure behind my eyes, like the onset of migraine. I raised both hands empty. I'm not here to hurt you. The pressure shifted, then a voice. Not sound. Meaning poured straight into my skull. Genderless, ancient, and impossibly gentle. You glow. I laughed, a cracked sound inside my helmet. That's the suit LEDs. No. You glow inside. Like a small star remembering it is a star. My knees weakened. I had not heard tenderness in 7 years. He extended one hand. The darkness of his palm was absolute. A hole cut from reality. I don't know why I reached out. Maybe because the alternative was running and I was done running. My gloved fingers crossed the violet boundary. The universe flipped. Light exploded from the place we touched, soft, golden, the color of late afternoon on Earth. It poured up my arm across my chest, lit the cavern like sunrise. I saw my own bones through the flesh of my hand, saw veins of molten light racing under my skin. And I saw him. He was still darkness, but now darkness filled with galaxies. Nebulae swirled where his heart should be. Constellations shifted across the void of his face. When he tilted his head, I glimpsed the birth of stars behind his eyes that were not eyes. His name, if such creatures have names, was Kaelu. He belonged to the Umbral, a species older than the planet's crust, native to the lightless oceans beneath the ice. Once they had filled these caverns with cities of shaped shadow. Then the red dwarf flared 100 million years ago, pumping hard radiation through the thin dayside atmosphere. The Umbral, whose biology woven from dark matter and exotic leptons, could not endure even the trickle of light that reached the night side. They retreated deeper, slept inside folded dimensions, and waited for the star to calm. They had waited too long. Most never woke. Kaelu was the last. He showed me all of this without moving his mouth. Images bloomed in my mind. Cathedrals of absence, music played on strings of gravity, lovers merging until two shadows became one deeper shadow. Then silence. Extinction by slow dawn. I told him my own small tragedy. He listened the way space listens, perfectly without judgment. When I finished, the light between our hands pulsed once, like a heartbeat. You are alone, he said. So am I. The company would call this first contact. I called it the first time in 7 years I could breathe without measuring each lungful against grief. We met every day for 93 days. I widened the shaft, installed an airlock, built a habitat bubble at the cavern's edge. Kaelu could not climb to the surface. Starlight, even the dim glow of the galaxy, unraveled his form in minutes. I could not stay below forever. Human lungs need traces of argon and a magnetic field to keep cosmic rays from scrambling DNA. So we lived on the border. He taught me to shape darkness. I would sit cross-legged on the cavern floor, eyes closed, palms up. Kaelu would lay his absence across my hands, and I would push light into the void the way a sculptor pushes clay. Together we made things. Spheres that drank sound, birds whose wings left trails of night, roses that opened into miniature black holes and sighed shut again. When I laughed, the light flared brighter. When I cried, he folded the dark around me until the tears felt like warm rain inside a private universe. I taught me the Umbral language, a grammar of gravity waves and photon absence. I taught him English, mostly swear words and lullabies. He liked both. On the 66th day, I took off my glove. Skin to not skin. The light that erupted was blinding. I saw every atom of my body singing. I saw the threads of dark matter that anchor galaxies braided through his form. For one impossible moment, I was in two places at once, inside my body and inside the folded dimensions where the Umbral dreamed. I felt the slow death of his people like a bruise across time. I felt Kaelu's wonder at the heat of a human heartbeat. We did not kiss. We overlapped. After that, I stopped logging reports. The company noticed. A supply drone arrived with a terse message. Dr. Ellison confirmed status. Non-response will trigger rescue protocol. I deleted it. Kaelu began to fade. It was subtle at first. The violet edges dimmed. The galaxies inside him moved slower. When we touched, the light came weaker, as if my small star was not enough to keep his night alive. He tried to hide it. Umbral do not lie. Lying requires light to cast the shadow of a lie, but he could soften truth. I pressed until the truth bled out. The flare that drove his people into hibernation was ending. The star was settling into a quieter middle age. Soon the night side would receive less radiation, but also less infrared leakage from the day side. The caverns would cool. The pocket of darkness was shrinking. Every time we touched, every time I poured my light into him, I delayed the collapse by hours, maybe days. But the planet itself was exhaling the last of its geothermal breath. There is a way, he said, to anchor me to you. But you would never see your sun again. You would become half of what I am. You would live as long as the universe has night, but you would lose the day inside you. I laughed until I couldn't breathe. I lost the day they died. Take it. He was quiet for a long time. Then, I will not steal the last light of the last human who was kind to me. The company rescue ship arrived on day 102. I heard the retros before I saw the flare against the stars. 3 bright flowers blooming over the ice. They would breach in 6 hours. Kaelu stood at the edge of the habitat bubble. Darkness rippling like disturbed water. They will take you, he said. They will call me a threat. They will burn this place with plasma lances until the dark is only ash. They won't take me, I said. I had a plan. Terrible, perfect plan. I led him deeper, past the cathedral cavern, down tunnels that had never known light. At the heart of the Black Rift lay the Nexus, the place where the Umbral once folded space to travel between stars without ever crossing the bright places. It looked like a sphere of perfect non-reflection 20 meters across. Dead now. Silent. But not entirely. I had spent weeks mapping its resonance with the Outpost spare fusion bottle. One precisely tuned pulse at 0.3 terahertz, and the Nexus would wake long enough to swallow whatever stood at its center. After that, collapse. The cavern would implode into a pocket smaller than an atom, sealed forever from the universe that had murdered its children. Kaelu understood before I spoke. You would come with me. Yes. You would never see another human face. I've seen the only one I needed to see again. I touched the place where his cheek should be. The light between us was barely a candle now. I'm tired of half measures, Kaelu. Let's go all the way dark together. He folded around me. Not an embrace emerging. I felt his sorrow, his wonder, his love like the gravity of a black hole. Inescapable, gentle, absolute. The rescue team breached the habitat minutes after we reached the nexus. I heard their voices over the open comm, tinny and frantic. Dr. Ellison. Step away from the entity. That is an order. I keyed the mic one last time. Tell them, I said, that Outpost 74 is officially abandoned. Tell them the Night One. I triggered the pulse. The nexus woke with a soundless scream of reopening space. Light and darkness braided, became something neither of us had words for. The cavern walls rushed inward. The rescue team's floodlights stretched into red threads and vanished. Then silence. Perfect final silence. We are still here. The pocket is not large, perhaps the size of a city block, but it contains everything. Galaxies drift across Kaelu's chest when he holds me. I glow for him, a small steady star. He is night for me, vast and safe. Sometimes we shape the darkness into the memory of Earth, oceans. Sometimes we let the galaxies will untouched, and simply listen to the quiet music of dark matter flowing between us. Out there, the universe continues. The red dwarf burns quieter now. Ice creeps back over the black rift. Outpost 74 is a ghost story told to new recruits. The scientist who fell in love with the abyss. They are not wrong. I was a creature of light, yet I darkened when I held his hand. He was a creature of darkness, yet he glowed when he held mine. And in the place where day and night finally learned to share the same skin, we are no longer alone.